Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to be looking at resynthesis vocals. Now, you may be unfamiliar with what resynthesis vocals are. Resynthesis vocals are simply you take what was a vocal, you tune it appropriately to do your resynthesis, and then you can actually play an entirely new vocal. So,
I've got a diamond in my covered in gold. I've never seen it, but it's gold.
So you see, I'm like playing notes. I can literally play an entirely new vocal. That's quite an enormous amount of power. And something else that's pretty cool, and we're going to be looking at a couple of examples of tracks where I use resynthesis vocals, is we're going to be looking at prepping vocals in this video. We're going to go through the whole shebang. We're going to look at tracks with examples of being used, and we're going to look at different patches and methods for using it. We're not going to get into the details because you can get kind of bogged down. You just need to know of some of the benefits and limitations you have. The reason why I settled on resynthesis was I actually had written this track before, but I was never satisfied with this vocal. I was having problems with it being out of tune sometimes. The vocoding was not blending the way I wanted it to, and I was just having a hard time. So I decided to go this way, and it turned out really cool. And I'm actually pretty proud of the way this came out. So let's first talk about what the original vocal sounded like. So this is what the original vocal sounded like.
I've got a diamond in my hand, covered in gold.
See, it's not a bad vocal. It's actually a pretty okay vocal. So there's like some noise in the background, but we can deal with that. It's not a big deal. So I tuned it, and I was messing with stuff, so I'm going to skip you all the shebang of everything I was trying before. We're just going to focus on the resynthesized vocals. That's what this video is about. So we're going to tune this up so that we can resynthesize it. And I keep saying this resynthesize thing. What do you mean? Well, right now it's audio, right? I want to be able to play it as notes. I want it to be seen as harmonic data, as if it were like, instead of it being a saw wave, we can play complex waveforms. We're going to use Harmor to do this. We'll get into that in just a second. So first we need to tune this, and the reason why is because right now she's singing a whole load of notes. You know, she's singing up and down and all those places. So if I hit a note and I'm playing this vocal and then I hit another note, well, what note is she going to sing? Well, she's going to sing whatever the transposition of that note is compared to the note that she's currently singing. So if she's singing like a fifth down, then I hit a fifth up. At the exact moment she goes up the fifth, it's going to sound like she stayed on the same note that I'm holding down. But it's a complicated deal. Anyways, we want her to sing one note so that we can play the vocal, right? So what you do is you open up New Tone, which you are familiar with very well by now. And so over here, we're going to go to New Tone, and you see you'll drop your vocal and it'll be all over the map. I recommend centering the pitch and flattening the variation. So she's perfectly in tune on the note she is singing. And then let's just drag this vocal in here. Let's just do that. Okay, so here we've got that, right? And so great. Well, I'm going to bring, so this is like what we've got. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to center it. So now she's perfectly in tune on the note she is singing. And the variation, because if we zoom in here, like, oh, look at all that variation. Well, you could keep this in there for a more natural performance when you play it. But I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of it. I do not want it as a thing. And what I'm going to do, why is it not going away? Oh, there you go. It's a fine mode. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to hit Control A to select all the notes, and we're going to zoom out here. And if I pitch her down to C5, that is going to be really noticeable difference. Like something, it's going to be dramatically probably something I'm not interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and pitch her up to C6. That way, when I hit the note C6, she'll be singing this. My vocal will sound like this.
I've got a diamond in my hand.
So you see, it's a pretty straightforward thing. So like, great. So you export that and you put it in your track, and you sound like this right now if you were to just use that audio.
I've got a diamond.
And of course, there's reverb and compression and a couple other tricks that I'm using to make it sound the way it sounds right now. So now it's been mixed. Next step is to turn it into a resynthesized vocal. Now to do this, what you do is, I'm just going to do it from scratch. What we're going to do is we're going to resynthesize our newly tuned vocal. And you see, I actually have 3 versions of this. That's because of the method I chose to do this with. So first, let's open up Harmor. And we're going to open up a Harmor, and we're going to go to Image. Harmor, you can actually drag on a piece of audio and it will analyze it and then recreate all the harmonics necessary to recreate that audio file. So instead of playing an audio, it's been taken from the audio domain into the synthesis domain. So, and in Harmor, you can affect each harmonic individually. So we have an incredible amount of power, such as being able to reorganize the harmonics so that we can play new notes. We can pitch it up and down, but with much higher fidelity because we're not time stretching audio. We're just taking the harmonic series and moving it around. It's a different way of doing things than what I just said. So let's go ahead and grab our vocal that we have now tuned and drag it into Harmor. So we're going to grab the little icon here and boop, there it is. Now, one problem though, if we play two notes, we've got that, but let's add a third note. And like, oh, it restarts. That's not cool. So to solve this issue, I'm simply going to turn legato on. And if I hit my C, if I hit a C on the keyboard, the reason why we tuned it to C is so that when I hit a C, it's the same. It's still a C over here. So I can still use all my music theory and I don't have to do this crazy transposition game. So legato will allow it so that as long as I hold down that first initial note, I can hit any new notes. The trade-off is I can no longer do polyphony. I can't hit multiple notes at the same time. So check it out. Let me really quick select Harmor.
I've got a diamond in my hand, covered in gold.
So that's really, really cool. That is like, that to me just blows my mind. So what did I do? Well, I took that, and of course you can add effects and stuff. And if we zoom in here, this is all covered in my Harmor from the ground up. But if you zoom in here, you can actually see the individual harmonics doing their thing, turning on and off and all that really cool stuff. And you may consider also coming back here, turning the precision on to perfect in the advanced tab. And the imagery synthesis. So we have taken what was audio and made it into synthesis. And we're going to turn that on to high precision just because we're paranoid. And that's that. Now we're going to, add some reverb, maybe turn it up a bit, maybe hit some compression in the effects, not limiting, maybe heating.
I've got a diamond in my hand, covered in gold.
So you see, and that's all I did to make the resynthesized vocals was I simply wrote out lines, and so I each use C5 as my bass line, and then I simply write in new harmonies around it. And when you play them all together, now they all have to start at the same time too, because if they start at different times, then I'm going to have an issue because they'll start the samples at different times. Because they remember, Harmor's looking at this and playing it through according to my time setting here. So again, Harmor from the ground up if this is all gibberish to you. So if we play it on the pattern.
I've got a diamond in my hand, covered in gold. I've never seen it, but it's grand.
So that is really cool. And I actually take the same part and I sing a different line down the line, down in the song later. So if I unmute this. But see, it started because I have the audio, and the audio doesn't care where I start, but this very much cares where I start. So. So you can actually hear there's a resynthesized vocal in there, but then there's the audio that I just, tuned the old-fashioned way. So that should be pretty straightforward. So this is actually a mix of resynthesis and the way of doing it. Now there's a couple other things we should look at here. So I believe these are free now. I don't know how you'd get them. I entered a competition and wound up with them. But what it is if you open up Harmor and you go into the presets, I believe it's included with 12.3 and above. You go to tutorials and tricks, resynthesis. We have effects, formants, free scrubbing, harmony. And these are all different presets using variations on what Harmor can do, because you just saw this is a pretty ridiculous engine. And you have things in here like image formant mutation, or there's another one in here, image time offset. It's somewhere in here. You have a bunch of image capabilities, and the patches can actually they're kind of straightforward, but they're kind of complicated at the same time. But basically, if you want to say play polyphony, you can come in here and one of these presets will actually let you do that. So there's a couple presets that you should know about when using this method that do allow you to do a couple things that legato function that I was showing you earlier. So the legato, you turn that on, right? And you can, as long as you're holding down the note, you're good to go. But here, if you download the Harmer Tevlo Vocals Resynthesized free, you actually get a couple of Harmer presets that comes with it. You just go to the ImageLine website and you'll get this. And I highly encourage you to mess with it. And what one of the really cool things about this is, without getting too deep into the way the patch works, is if I can play multiple notes, I can let go and pick up where I left off. So you see it's making movements across. It's not quite where I left off, but you get the idea. It's a different way of behaving, and I can play polyphony in a different way, whereas the other one I'd have to have multiple things open. So let's go ahead and look at another track where I used resynthesized vocals. All right, so this is the track that I made. It's called Do You See? And it was entered in the competition. They actually had a competition for the Tevlo. They have like a sample pack where you can get a whole bunch of loops that they actually recorded, already tuned and prepped for Harmer, and to do this exact thing, to play the vocals using the various patches that I was showing you. So I made that. I just thought I'd show you a little some other stuff that's sort of capable. So I'm gonna skip around to the parts where the vocals are, but here is like the main singing, the main phrases.
Do you see the things I see? Do you believe what I believe? Do you see the things I see? Do you believe what I believe? Do you see? Do you believe?
So something that I should point out here. So those harmonies are the same thing. So it's pretty crazy how like this can sound really freaking good if you deliberately go out of your way to do resynthesized vocals. So he never sang that. He's just singing that one note. And I'm literally some guy who just wrote additional notes. Another thing is that, that thing was written in by me. If I go ahead and solo that, this thing in here, it's a pretty cool deal. Let's go ahead. So there's like a bend that happens. It goes from here to here. So that's pretty cool. They also have these ba-da-ba-da-ba-das. And so that's just another example of some options you have. If you have any questions about resynthesized vocals, let me know. They are really, really cool tools. Just you have enormous creative power, and you're able to affect things, especially you can get at things in a way you never could with audio. I mean, you can come in here and like carve out like specific harmonics with a phaser and just do things that you wish you could do as accurately. If you have Melodyne, it's almost like the same thing. Melodyne's pretty wild in other ways. I don't know Melodyne though, so I can't show you. But Harmer is freaking a crazy beast when it comes to being able to do this. This is a really unique feature to Harmer. So if you found this useful, subscribe, share it with someone. Yeah, and have a blessed day.
Do you see the things I see?